When Jesus walked the earth, who was the ruler of Egypt or Pharaoh? Was Egypt still the mighty kingdom of pyramids, or had its crown already fallen? The answer reveals more than history. It reveals prophecy and the silent shift of empires. Long before Jesus was born in Bethlehem, the glory of the Pharaohs had faded. The last native Egyptian ruler, Nectanebo II, had fallen to the Persians nearly 300 years earlier. The once golden throne of Egypt now belonged to foreigners. First Persia, then Greece, and finally Rome. So when Jesus was born, there was no Pharaoh on Egypt's throne, only a shadow of what Egypt once was. But the story doesn't end there. At the time of Jesus' birth, around 4 to 6 BC, Egypt was ruled not by a king, but by a Roman governor. The land was under the control of Emperor Augustus Caesar, the same emperor who ordered the census that led Joseph and Mary to Bethlehem. But who ruled Egypt directly? A man named Gaius Tyrannus, the Roman prefect of Egypt. He wasn't called Pharaoh, but he held all their power, answering only to Caesar himself. It was a strange sight, the land of pyramids now serving a foreign empire, and yet prophecy still breathed through its sands. When King Herod sought to kill the infant Jesus, an angel warned Joseph in a dream, "Arise, take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt." Matthew 2:13. Why Egypt? Why would God send his son to the land once known for bondage? Because Egypt had changed. It was no longer a land of slavery, but a place of refuge. The child who once would have been enslaved by pharaohs now found safety under the rule of Rome. The land that once oppressed God's people was now the land that protected his son. Isn't that a divine reversal? But even though the title Pharaoh had vanished, Egypt still whispered its old glory. Temples stood half buried in sand. Priests still chanted in fading languages. And in Alexandria, one of the greatest cities of the Roman world, Greek philosophers studied side by side with Jewish scholars. The knowledge of Egypt had merged with the mind of Rome. The old world and the new world were meeting, just as prophecy said they would. Could this have been part of God's design? That in the same age his son was born, the wisdom of nations was converging, preparing the world for the gospel? History records that after Jesus' childhood, Egypt continued under Roman rule, until it became one of the centers of early Christianity. From its deserts rose monks, scholars, and churches that carried the message of the Messiah to Africa and beyond. The Pharaoh was gone, but a new king had risen, one not of stone or gold, but of spirit. So who was the Pharaoh in the time of Jesus? In truth, there was none. Only the memory of kings buried beneath the sands and a Roman Empire ruling in their place. Yet Egypt still fulfilled prophecy, not by power, but by purpose. It became the cradle of safety for the Son of God. The land of ancient idols, it became the first to shelter the living Christ. But while Egypt's light was fading, another continent was awakening. How was Europe during the time of Jesus? What powers were rising, quietly shaping the future of Christianity? Join us in the next episode to uncover the unseen world beyond Rome. Subscribe so you don't miss what's revealed next.